Stag Knight mounts for Wood Elf characters give them quite a bit of ground melee punch, especially for characters that might otherwise lack it, like let's say the Glade Lord, who on horseback doesn't have nearly the same melee potency. Definitely on the Stag, you know, you're looking 65 attack, 60 defense, and 380 weapon strength, only 60 armor, but also carries that bow, of course. Brave on Athrema, Arrow of Kurnus. Very good stuff, backed up by the Glade Captain, who adds a plus 35 bonus versus large on top of that package. And very cheap overall with no abilities or spells, just the mount and her stats. Fantastic here. This one from Ronin versus Mayday. We've got a battle of elves here out in the desert. Wood elves have no trees to hide in. We've got dryads. And War Dancer is going for an all-out rush here with some Wild Riders. Spirit leeching the life caster there is a caster of death, of course. On the opposite side, we've got a Hydra, front line of sad swords. Not so sad anymore, but still, you know, sad inside, let's say. War Hydra, Dark Riders with shields, a Manticore, and Lokir, Mr. Kraken himself. We also got the Lost Sylvan Knights, of course, for the Wood Elves. Can't forget them. Yeah, those Regiment of Renown Ethereal Stag Knights. Their Frostbite and pure AP damage. Going to be hunting for high-value targets here. Smashing through in general. Let's see, in this frontline engagement. And both players going with very much rush-oriented builds. But Dark Elves not necessarily wanting to just take a bad engagement straight up. Really nice breath attack here. As Ronin kind of misses the charge a little bit there on the Sylvan Knights. But eventually we'll get into combat. Over here on this far side as well, we see a nice breath attack from the dragon, hitting those Wild Riders. A little bit of Earth Blood there to help assuage the damage, if you will. The yeah, melee attack being debuffed significantly by that noxious gas. At least it says it does in the tooltip. Looking, it doesn't look like it's actually affecting their melee attack. Anyway, a little bit of an odd interaction there. Maybe I need to test that out some more. But War Dancer's getting in here, and Dryads. Mayday definitely hunting the Life Caster here as best he can, which is a smart idea. Definitely want to try and get rid of the Wood Elves healing if he can. Has the Manticore for kind of the double collapse here, but Pravon Athrema hitting Lokir Fellheart as he pops Dreaded Duelist, allows the Sylvan Knights to get in there, eating a little bit of a regrowth as they'd taken a decent amount of damage in that engagement against the Hydra, but Brad's continuing to just scrap with weak swords in the front line. Pretty good engagement, honestly, for both sides. Will be a little bit of a wash. The camera jumps around a bit there. Yeah, the War Hydra. Nice breath attack. A little bit of friendly fire. Not really, actually. Surprisingly, really good use of the Hydra breaths, and I've been bad-mouthing the Hydra recently. One of you did point out in a recent battle where it did manage to get some value, that a lot of the value came from those breaths, and it is certainly true that with the Hydra, you do need to be lining up and getting those breath attacks as good as you can, you know, as much value as you can. Certainly, so far, Mayday has managed to put it pretty much into the high-value targets, so 1,000 damage value on the Hydra already. It's well on its way to paying for itself. One more breath attack left, and then you'll probably get like another 400 or 500 value in melee. Maybe, we'll see. Right now, though, Lokir definitely feeling the pain of the double Stag character. 2v1 single entity fight's never going to be good, especially when they have as much melee prowess as they do. I mean, again, the weapon strength's not great, but very high attack and defense stats on both these characters, and of course that extra anti-large from the captain. Stag Knight's moving in to keep that Frostbite up as well, so Lokir is just having a real bad time at this point. Yeah. Stag character's just absolutely feasting. Let's see if the Hydra can come in and bail him out, as it has been trying to do. Maybe. Its Harpies could maybe come over and try and screen as well, although they don't really have the mass to stop this. Yeah, Pravon Athrema there. That's probably the backbreaker. Or Lokir, as he is unable to escape. Hydra had been blocking pretty well for him a few times there, but yeah. The Sylvan Knights and the Glade characters, the Stags, the reindeer knights, as it were. Aerial ghosts led by these two brave elves. Just spectacular. Nice to see some good melee performance from the wood elves, for sure. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a secret tech, per se, although I might use that in the title of the video. Maybe secret, but just sort of one you might not think of, maybe. Let's put it that way. Especially if you're not a regular Wood Elf player, maybe if you're new to the faction or you're looking to pick them up, it's definitely an option you need to consider, for sure. If you're going for a little bit of a melee rush-oriented build, of course you could also, I mean, we saw several times Prey of Anathrema be very useful in a melee context, and it certainly is. You could also take the Helm of Discord on the Nailglade Lord that has, you know, a little bit more melee buffs, but again, really hard to say. Prey of Anathrema, especially if you're expecting your opponent to rush against you, like rush versus rush, if you have some snares to be able to dictate where you can get good engagements, that often can decide the outcome of the battle, honestly. I've seen that before with, you know, nets against cavalry-based factions, right? If someone has a Net of Amantalk or other hard snares, Anathrema certainly here helping to secure the win against the dragon. Hydra's leadership being broken there as it's seen off in the late game. And there you go. Ronan able to take the win, and the two Stag characters, excuse me, taking relatively little damage in the process. Over 1,000 damage value each, so we'll check their costs after this. I think they're maybe a little bit over that in terms of cost, but still, the fact that they took almost no damage is also super important. The Stag Knights, likewise, paid for themselves, you know, lore magic-wise. I don't know. I didn't check to see if Mayday had Fate of Buna. I would assume not. Definitely would have been very nice to have against those Sylvan Knights. But, yeah, they were able to pay for themselves, although the Wild Riders were more limited. And the War Dancers also, yeah, did a pretty decent job overall. Dryads trading decently effectively in a couple engagements as well. On the opposite side, yeah, Bleak Swords also, at the same time, pretty cost-effective. Like I said, those two units do trade fairly well into each other. The Hydra actually doesn't quite end up paying for itself, only 1,300 damage values, but pretty good stuff. Even with ideal breaths, though, still just, I just feel like the Hydra should be better in melee. But anyway, let's take a look at the Glade characters here. On their sweet Stag steeds. Steezy steeds, indeed. Let's see. Glade Lord here. Yeah, Great Stag. So if you remove everything, 1,200 on the Great Stag. So just in terms of raw damage value, they didn't quite pay for themselves. At least she didn't. This Captain is only 1,000. So, I mean, pretty close. They were basically on the money. And then you start adding in some of these other effects, which had great support value. Prey of Anathrema. You know, Arrow Kurnos, something you might want to have if you think your opponent's going to bring artillery, but I guess in that game, Ronan wasn't necessarily expecting to do so. Yeah, here, obviously the Captain doesn't have access to it. You would really probably want to switch out the Waystalker if you're worried about mass artillery, but general, you know, you have extra things here, but they're just going to make your character slightly less cost-effective. So hard to say really if a lot of them are going to be worth it in the long run. Generally, I would say just following Ronan's example here, just kitting down your character completely. Like really the only one I would strongly consider, probably Dance of Loek or Horn of Isha. Both relatively cheap, passive melee buffs, or at least, you know, a little bit better. Like this Dance of Loek, if you have an extra 100 points, right, rather than spend it on some chevrons, you might come in here and choose to buy this just to shore up the melee defense of your characters, which, you know, it's already pretty good. Glade Captain's definitely less potent than the Glade Lord when it comes to that attack defense, but of course has the extra weapon strength, 35 bonus versus large, which, you know, 20 lower base weapon strength, but still higher against large targets, right? But the two of them together, really used in tandem, are quite a potent combination, and that's kind of the point I was making here with this replay, because it was a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.